You know, it's been a pretty long minute since we've had a very straight up, I'm here to do the thing. I'm not going to talk much because I guess Alan Rickman doesn't really have that much range. However, when you get all that raw emotion and you stick that to a very, let's call it body acting, and you wrap it up in this whole injustice situation in the time period back in the 1980s, then yeah, we have something a little special, a little different. And with I forgot what it's called, one Motor City, starring Alan Rickman. We got a young man who's not having a good time. Without getting too into the details, without getting too spoilerific, because this is one of those films that just kind of starts going once it gets going. This gentleman, played by Alec Rippman, is an ex-Army Ranger. And just by saying that, you should already start to assume where we're going with this one. Because when things go bad, we start off on a really high note. Young man is about to get proposed to. He's very excited. He saved up money for that ring and he's about to do the proposal. However, things don't go as planned because while something could really seem as like a very basic tier issue, it starts building up into a layer by layer by layer by layer until we slowly realize that this whole time we've been had our eyes kept on. And unfortunately, right, you as a man could live out there, or the woman as well. It's consequences are gender exclusive. Demo. You could go out there. You could make just one mistake, right? You could talk to the person in a weird way. You could say something that rubs somebody the wrong direction. And that one mistake, you never know how far that rabbit hole can go. So, as we venture into the story, as we see this man slowly start to unravel, being tortured in his own cage, waiting for the opportune moment to lash out and strike back. Whew. Ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves one angry Wick. And not unlike John Wick, I think you can say that this film really brings a certain sense of emotion. Again, we're talking about a film that doesn't really have a lot of dialogue for the most parts, much less dialogue from our main character. And again, while I don't know if that's a uh, acting method or if that's just what they wanted for the specific character, the strong, silent, brooding protagonist, it worked out. It worked out, we just recently had people complaining about the Odyssey and Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey because Matt Damon, supposedly his Odysseus character, wasn't as expressive, right? We'll call him. He portrayed more of a stoic, thoughtful character, to which, as someone, I go out here and I talk because I like expressing thoughts and stuff. But as someone that goes out into that universe day after day and has this sense of just like somber consciousness on a day-to-day basis, it is genuinely refreshing to see a main character show up to a situation, not have to like give a monologue, but just get the job done, because at this moment getting the job done is the importance. And you feel that, right? Whether it be that the love story holding this tragedy up, or whether it be the anger that comes from being stolen from the beautiful life you were this close to accomplishing, whether it be the poor man just trying to make a buck and trying to live a happy life, or whether it be the rich stout cokehead that has no direction in life. These people all live in the same world, man. And when a woman's involved, when things get dicey, you know my man's got to put this. You know my man's got to settle the score. So what they do, how they build it up, and again, getting to see what U.S. Army Rangers would do in the battlefield of a city, genuinely impressive, man. I get a kick out of like understanding how much of an effort it takes to accomplish a goal. And then in a movie, right? Because you wouldn't want people running around shooting, blasting each other over. But in a movie, you see how getting to that accomplishment, to that conclusion, and how much of a struggle it took to get there leads to the accomplishment, the feeling of accomplishment, and just being astounded by like what we do. So it's really interesting to me that this is a film that is being produced by an independent film company, right? It's BS at this point, but it does show that there is a subunit of directors slash movie makers that are crazy enough and ballsy enough and confident enough and creative enough to have a silent main character protagonist absolutely carry this film. And yeah, that's about it. There's not much to say about a film that is filled with explosions, gunshots, blood, stuff that we've, have seen before. You gotta assume. But there is a sense of accomplishment and astonishment and wonder when said same themes can be presented and portrayed in a different limelight while also giving them a fresh new sensation. So the fact that they made this film as a timepiece period in the I want to say 80s, probably before that, maybe 60s. Detroit City was a dirty place filled with crooked people at that time period, which is why it's okay for Army Rangers to go ham on police officers. So, as we understand that this guy has a lot to deal with, a lot of institutions to conflict with, it is a wild ride. And I will say, for as much as the man does not speak, he does have lines, but he doesn't, he doesn't need them. The fact that these people decided to go out and really try to make like a physical film, I do feel this is more of a physical film than a spoken film. And not that that's a terrible thing, or not that it could even not have worked, but with the supporting cast and the universe, quote unquote, that they built in this story, it really carried its own weight. So that's another credit to how good a writing can be, to the fact that you don't really care what the main character has to say because you understand what he has to do. And that boy, he be out there doing the do. So if you've ever wanted to make a pipe bomb, watch Terminator. That's where I learned. But if you're curious about what it takes to be an U.S. Army Ranger and you would like to see your boys from the Fortnites go out there and, be cool, Operation Let's Go Tango Assassin's Creed. They had Assassin's Creed, man. They had Assassin's Creed. It was good. So, yeah, it's pretty good, man. I will say, like, it's very bloody. Again, I'm the type that doesn't really like gore because it really reflects to what the pain is in my brain. However, the gore in this film is less, oh, we're going to gross you out or we're going to show you certain things. There is a few scenes like that, but it's more of a impact of what the emotional weight of those hits mean, more than the actual action of being shot. So, yeah, pretty damn good film, man. Again, I'm just very impressed by how minimalistic it was in terms of like dialogue per se, but it really does feel like it was made in that mindset. And even like the interjections and the cuts and like the scenes, every scene just has this way of flowing. And my boy has long hair, so we appreciate that, because when the hair comes off, that shit's getting serious, y'all. So if you haven't seen Motor City, please go check it out. It is a independent film company. I really don't know who's making that, but if someone's out there being like, listen, dog, we're gonna make something a little bit different. Hollywood can go do their own thing. We're gonna go do our own thing over here. Then hey, that sounds like fun to me. So if that sounds like fun to you, if you've liked what you've seen, if you are interested in having fun, then hit that like, subscrizzle, and I'll catch you in the future or Rizzle. But it's been your boy, EXP66, and apparently I gotta go to work. So let's go make some money. Thanks for watching. Ciao. Matane.